Evet, yavaş yavaş başlayabiliriz sanırım. Şimdi öncelikle kendimi tanıtayım. Ben 𝗕𝗂𝗏𝗂, Avrupa Birliği finansmanlı inovatif girişimcilik projesi kapsamında bu projeyi yürütüyoruz 2019 yılından beri. Sizlerden bir ricamız var, çeviriyle ilgili notumuzu paylaşarak başlayayım. Biliyorsunuz bu workshop İngilizce dilinde yürütülecek bir workshop olacak. Ben şu anda Türkçe konuşuyorum ve şu anda aslında çevirmenlerimiz benim konuştuğumu İngilizceye çeviriyor workshop sahipleri için. Eğer sizler de workshop'u İngilizce yapılacağı için Türkçe de dinlemek isterseniz lütfen aşağıda interpretation seçeneğini tıklayarak böyle bir dünya resmi var üstünde çizgiler olan interpretation seçeneğini tıklayarak oradan French olarak seçiniz. Maalesef Türkçe seçeneği yok Zoom'da henüz. O yüzden biz French olarak kendimizi belirttik. Eğer İngilizce olarak dinlemek istiyorsanız ya da orijinal dilinde herkesin konuştuğu dilde dinlemek istiyorsanız o şekilde de seçebilirsiniz. Ayrıca zaman zaman sizlere de söz hakkı verilecek sorularınızı sorabilmeniz için bu workshop sırasınca. Bu sırada da lütfen konuştuğunuz dilin odasında, yani Türkçe konuşuyorsanız French odasında, İngilizce konuşuyorsanız English odasında olmaya özen gösteriniz ki sorduğunuz sorulara yanıt verilebilsin. Böyle bir küçük uyarı yapmak istedim ben öncesinde. Şimdilik birazcık projeden bahsetmek istiyorum. Hem birkaç kişi daha gelecek diye bekliyoruz. Hem onları da almış oluruz. Merhaba. Merhabalar. Teşekkür ederiz herkese katılımı için ve büyük ilginiz için. Çok kısa sürede çok büyük bir katılımcı topladık aslında. Belli ki dijital pazarlama konusunda büyük bir ilgi var bizim Kıbrıs Türk toplumunda. Zaten biz 2019 yılında inovatif girişimcilik projesi kapsamında da bu programları yürütmeye başladığımızda bu ilgiyi görerek daha da heveslendik. Daha fazla işletmeye daha fazla destek olmak istedik. 2022 sonuna geldiğimizde bugün Into Digital 2023 diye bir yeni programla karşınızdayız ve bu program kapsamında önümüzdeki birkaç ay boyunca aslında birlikte bir yolculuğa çıkacağız diyebiliriz. Bu yolculukta da dijitalleşme adına işletmenizin, girişiminizin daha dijital olması adına atılacak bazı adımlarla ilgili sizlere destek olunacak. Ne gibi desteklerden bahsediyoruz? Ondan birazcık kısaca bahsetmek isterim. Dediğim gibi Avrupa Birliği finansmanlı inovatif girişimcilik projesi kapsamında düzenliyoruz bunu. Bizim genel hedefimiz Kıbrıs'ın kuzeyindeki girişimcilik ekosistemine katkıda bulunacak, kapasitelerin geliştirilmesini sağlayacak faaliyetler yürütmek. Ve bu programlarla Into Digital 2023 ile başlıyoruz şu anda 2023 yılına. Çok da heyecanlıyız bu konuda. Aralık ayında 3 tane workshop düzenliyoruz online olarak. Bu 3 workshop'tan zaten sizler de kayıt yaptırırken 3 seçeneği de görmüştünüz. Bu 3 workshop'a katılmanızı biz öneririz. Ondan sonrasında Ocak ayında da gerek bizim kayıt alırken size sorduğumuz sorulara gelen yanıtlar doğrultusunda, gerekse bugün yapılacak anketler doğrultusunda işletmelerin en çok hangi alanlarda ilgilerinin olduğunu ölçüp bu değerlendirmeye göre yeni programlar çıkaracağız. Ocak ayında, ocağın 2. haftası tahmin ediyoruz. 16 Ocak haftası oluyor. Yüz yüze bu workshopları biz Kıbrıs'ta sağlayacağız. Bunlarla ilgili lütfen bizi takipte kalın. Zaten şu anda bu workshop'a kayıt olarak bize kendi iletişim bilgilerini sağlamış olduğunuz, biz sizleri bilgilendireceğiz gerekli noktalarda. Gerek e-mail yoluyla, gerek bize sağladığınız cep telefonları yoluyla sizi güncelleyeceğiz yeni programlarınızla ilgili. Ocak ayı içerisinde düzenleyeceğimiz workshoplara sizleri davet edeceğiz. Sonrasında ise işletmelere yönelik, ağımızda bulunan işletmelere yönelik birebir danışmanlık hizmeti verme şansımız olacak. Kuzey İrlanda'dan çok iyi bir ekiple çalışıyoruz bu hizmeti sağlayabilmek için, Into Digital programını sağlayabilmek için. Şu anda zaten workshop'u da kendileri sunacak. Bir tanesi Kiran, bir tanesi Stephen. Şu anda buradalar, odadalar. Hatta Stephen McClelland sunacak bugünkü workshop'u, o sağlayacak. Onlara lütfen workshop sırasında ilgili sorularınızı sormaktan çekinmeyin. Bu sorularınızı sözlü soracaksanız elinizi kaldırmanızı rica edeceğiz. Eğer sözlü sormayacaksınız chat ekranında bizlere yazabilirsiniz. Biz bunu ekip arkadaşlarımla soruları okumak suretiyle çevirttireceğiz ki cevap verilebilsin. Uzman ekibimizin bir sözü var bize. Bu workshop'u tüm sorulara cevap vermeden bitirmeyeceğiz diye. O yüzden ben fazla sözü uzatmıyorum. Zaten şu anda yüksek bir katılımla workshop katılımcılarımız da heyecanla bekliyor. Sözü Stephen'a ben uzatmak istiyorum. Teşekkür ederim.
Thank you, 𝗲𝗂𝗶𝗴𝗶, for the introduction. I just want to introduce myself to everyone. My name is Stephen. I look after WordPress development here at Profile-Tree. And today's session, we're going to take a look at building a WordPress website or building a website in WordPress. So I'm hopefully just going to share my screen. And if you could just confirm that everyone hopefully can see my screen okay. What we'd like to do is just give you a basic introduction into what is WordPress. And we do have a poll that we're going to run. And this poll will simply just understand everyone that's here. And if you have experience of using WordPress, if you've used it before, or maybe it's something you haven't used before. So a few things just to get started. Obviously, we want to look at some of the outcomes. What do we hope you're going to achieve by attending this session today? And the first thing is to understand what is WordPress, what can it do for your business, and how can it be used to support you online? We then want to show you how to actually set up a WordPress website completely for free. We want to look at what themes you can use, what plugins, and just give you a good understanding of good practice for building a website. Now, as much as today's session is going to be surrounding WordPress and building a WordPress website, we do want to give you some general features and points that could be used across the board, across many different websites. So the first thing we want to ask is, and I'm just going to try and pull up on screen now, so hopefully you will see that very shortly if I hit launch. And if you check on Zoom, you should see now a poll at the bottom. If you click on that poll, you should have a question there for WordPress experience. It would be great if I could ask as many people as possible, if I give you just a few seconds, just so I can understand the room, who has used WordPress before, and the background there. I will make this session as practical as possible. So there will be elements of this session that will be involved in both PowerPoint presentations, but also then being put onto more practical sessions. And there will be a series of websites that I will show you during this session you can check out and review as well. So don't be afraid, as 𝗲𝗂𝗶𝗴𝗶 had said, to ask questions, put chats in the bottom, and do raise your hand if you have any questions. I will provide gaps and opportunities for you to ask those questions as we go through. So I'll just give it another couple of seconds and then I'll close the poll, and that's great. So thank you for everyone that has answered. If you haven't, don't forget, just down the bottom on Zoom, there is a feature there for the poll and you can let us know the experience. So thank you again for all those who have participated in that, and I'll close that off there. Thank you very much. So the first question for those that have either used WordPress before or who have not used WordPress before is quite simply, what is WordPress? So WordPress is a content management system, a CMS, for those that are aware of the abbreviation. And WordPress is a content management system that allows us to control and manage our own content. What does that really mean? Well, that allows us to do everything from editing and adding small pieces of text or imagery to our pages. It also allows us to develop a website using unique features, be it a standard brochure website, which is what we traditionally look at a website that just presents information online, or right up to e-commerce and allows us to offer services and sell products online. So we have a variety of things that we can do with WordPress. So the first question is, getting started with WordPress, what do you need and what you should consider? Well, firstly, just to avoid any confusion, there's actually two different types of WordPress. We have WordPress.org, which is what most people are familiar with when they hear the terminology WordPress. And that is what's called a self-hosted platform. It means that you look after it yourself, you build a theme, you choose plugins, and you build a website that you own almost 100% of. And then we have WordPress.com. WordPress.com is very familiar with those that use WordPress for blogging sites. So this is where the theme is already built. You host with WordPress, you pay them a fee each month or each year, and you keep it on the WordPress platform. So I just want to, whenever you're doing your own research, whenever you're getting set up, do make sure that you're using WordPress.org, as that is always the best option that everyone is most familiar with about getting set up online. So as we go into what is WordPress, firstly, is we need to ask as well is who uses WordPress? Why is WordPress so good? Well, quite simply, WordPress is taking up over 43% of all internet websites online today. So when we look at what's online, when we look at who actually uses WordPress, it is by far the most common CMS, content management system, that you will see online. And some of the websites that you might be surprised to see that are using WordPress, or depending on your background, the White House governmental website uses WordPress. We have Microsoft themselves. So Microsoft uses, they have their own blog, and their official blog uses WordPress to manage their system. And then other small examples, well, depending how you say small, the Rolling Stones, they use WordPress as their official brand website. So it's just to give you an understanding of WordPress is not some small builder that's only used by small businesses. It's used right up from a SME, small level business, a sole trader, right up to some of the highest governmental websites. And so why WordPress? Well, firstly, as I mentioned before, it's the simplicity, it's the ease of use. You have access to almost every element of your website, be that adding content, adding video, creating new pages, or even adding in a different level of functionality to your websites. And so the first thing we say there would be simplicity, being able to add a content, start as a beginner and grow your experience to a developer, if you would want to give yourself that title as well. And then we have flexibility. Well, the freedom behind WordPress is you have a lot of choice. Do you want, and we'll talk soon about this, but do you want just a brochure, basic, simple website with maybe 1 or 2 pages? Or do you want a very expansive website with hundreds of pages, multiple blogs, booking systems? The choice is yours to have that flexibility and freedom. And the last one, which I hope will answer some questions and concerns that some of you may have today, is, do you need to be a developer, or do you need to know HTML, CSS? Do you need to know coding? And well, hopefully I can answer some questions today around this that no, you don't. You're able to start building a WordPress website without the need to know how to code or to develop websites in that sense. And so just to very quickly recap what type of websites we can build, as I mentioned already, we have our standard brochure websites, which is almost like a magazine online on digital. We then have the ability to add blogging websites, e-commerce, business websites that showcase services and unique selling points, membership, portfolio, forms, and you can see the list there. The list is almost endless when it comes to options that are there. So if you do have any questions about types of websites that you can build, or questions about looking at that further, just let me know through the chat feature that's there. So just to kind of allow you to use the chat feature there, do feel free to ask any questions. I will just kind of open the floor if anyone does have any questions now, to just give a natural pause. If you do have any questions at the moment or anything specific you'd like us to go into, please do ask. And I'll give you just a few seconds there to check. And if anything, I'll move on. Okay, so getting started now to get to a bit more of the practical part of the session. So there will be a few tabs that I will jump in between. So you will see that I'll be using different tabs on Google Chrome here, and I will share these with you all after as well. So the first thing to get started with WordPress is you're going to need to consider a few tools, a few features that might not be needed right now, but you need to consider later on. So the first one is web hosting. WordPress is by default what's called a self-hosted platform. Self-hosted simply means that you will have to look after the server rent or the hosting of your website yourself. And there's many different providers that we can support you with, both locally and internationally, that you could use to host your website online. For instance, in UK and Europe, you would find a lot of use on GoDaddy and Namecheap and a few others, just to name a few. And these web hosts will maintain, they will keep your website online. You would normally pay them a monthly or an annual fee. And the idea behind of a good quality web host is they will traditionally include extra features. These extra features may include free plugins, themes that we'll chat about later, or may also include extra security features, such as daily backups, speed and performance optimization, and even go as far as offering support for your WordPress website. So it's important to consider that a good quality web host can make a big difference when it comes to your website being online and maintained as well. Another thing to consider, and sometimes the obvious one that everyone forgets until the last minute, is a domain name. You need to think of your position online. How do you want your brand or your business to be advertised? Now, not always you're going to receive the perfect domain name that matches your business. Sometimes you might need to look online at different sources. You might need to look again at someone like GoDaddy or Namecheap, who you can use to search for the most appropriate or the best sort of domain name for your business. And we can chat about that as well if you do have any questions in relation to domains. And then finally, we need software. Now, most of the web hosts will install WordPress for you. However, you might need to install WordPress yourself by going to wordpress.org and following their instructions. Now, one of the things that I want to show you all today is how can you get started with WordPress for free without the need to purchase a domain or sign up to web hosting. So if you're following along and you can see the screen share, the first tool that we're going to show you today is a tool called Local by Flywheel. Local by Flywheel is a free application. If you go to localwp.com, you can access the Local by Flywheel website. Local by Flywheel is a tool for both Windows and Apple devices, and it allows you to create what's called a local server on your computer completely for free. And this allows anyone to, what we would call create or spin up a website very quickly and experiment on your own computer without the worry or the fear of it going live to the general public. And this is something that I'm going to encourage you to do today. And while you're following along, is to go to localwp.com or Local by Flywheel in Google search and download it for free. You might need to sign up a small account there just to do that, but it's a completely free application and you can register online for Local by Flywheel. Local by Flywheel is a tool that's very efficient. It's very quick. Well, I'm going to switch my screen share. I'm hopefully just going to be able to show you Local by Flywheel in action. So bear with me just 2 seconds to change my screen share over. And hopefully everyone is still with me okay. So hopefully you can see my screen as well. So this is Local by Flywheel. I'm using an Apple device, but on Windows it's very similar. And so when you open Local by Flywheel for the first time, you will often, or you might see a blank or empty list here on the left-hand side. I have created one for the purpose of this session today called Getting Started. But the idea of creating a site on your own computer to test with is as simple as going to the plus button in the bottom left corner and clicking Add New. You want to create a new website and you're just going to click Next and give your website a name. So we can just call this Test. And then we can click the advanced options if we wanted to change some of the settings. I'd encourage you just to leave everything as it is and we can hit Continue. And from here, then once again, leave it as preferred. Now, sometimes your computer at this stage might pop up and ask you for some passwords or some permissions, and that's absolutely fine to do so. It's just your computer going to try and create a local website on your own computer. So we can give ourselves a username. So I'm just going to put my own name there. We can put in a wonderful password that's very secure. And of course, you can put in your email address, which will allow you to reset the password or to change any settings if you need to do so. And once again, we can click on Add Site. Now, for the purpose of my internet speed and also for this call, when you hit Add Site, it will take approximately 5-10 minutes, depending on your connection, and it will then create you a blank or an empty WordPress server, which is ideally where you want to start from. And so that's the first step when it comes to setting up a local server to allow us to begin developing websites and take our development to the next level. If anyone again has any questions on that, please don't hesitate to use the chat below and we'll certainly help you go through those. So now that you've set up your site, and an example here just to show you is, here is an example of the WordPress dashboard that we've just created. So when you get started and you hit the create a site, it will ask you to log into the WordPress admin, and this is what you will see. It will take you to a blank or an empty canvas WordPress website. And one of the first things you need to consider when it comes to building a WordPress website is the choice of theme. So for those that have never used WordPress before or have never heard of themes, WordPress effectively will provide you with a framework. This can be both the design and the structure of the website, but can also help you with the style of the site as well. There is so many different themes that are available to you, be it what's called a premium theme. And premium themes are traditionally, they are already built in full. They have pages, they have a nice menu system. They're already pre-designed, or you also have free themes. Now, an example that I have on screen here is a website called 𝗕𝗂𝗶𝗴𝗶. you'll hopefully, if I can see my tab along the top, you'll hopefully be able to see this website here called themeforest.net. ThemeForest is the Amazon, eBay of buying and purchasing WordPress themes. It allows you to search for anything if we want to have a business. WordPress theme, very basic, really generic, I know. But if we go and search for that, we can find there's a series of WordPress themes that have been built and they're pre-styled for us. So if we're looking to build a consultancy business, you can see here we have a theme that's already pre-built. And the idea is that you're able to purchase this theme and you get options to have all different types of designs with all different types of features. And so a premium theme, as we'll see, is costly. They can be expensive depending on what you need. But the idea is that you get a blueprint for your own website. And the idea of this is it is a blueprint. We simply want you to have the layout, the structure already set up so that you can obviously develop the website yourself and take it to the next level. So that's just one example of premium themes. And there's, again, many different themes that you can choose. We also then have examples of free themes, and there's a theme called the Hello theme, and you'll see that in WordPress, and we'll show you that very shortly when it comes to building the website and we get inside of WordPress. But free themes are normally more relaxed. They don't actually provide as much in the way of features and styles, but they allow you a canvas, a blank canvas to build the website that you would like. And this gives you a series of options and different tools that are available to you through the use of themes. One thing that's often accomplished or asked a lot is, my WordPress website is different from someone else's. We hear this on a regular basis when we speak to other clients or businesses like yourselves who have either used WordPress before or maybe have zero experience. Page builders can be the biggest difference about building a WordPress website. A page builder can be something that is very small and it doesn't have a big part to play in the site, or it can be the core foundation of the website itself. So a page builder is a tool or plugin that allows you, without the need for any programming, without the need to develop any code, to almost drag and drop elements of a website together, from large sections at the top of a home screen right down to adding in service boxes across the site. There is a series of page builders that I'm going to show you now, and one in particular that we're going to use for this session today. But the key features of most of these builders will be as follows. Number one, a pre-built design series of blocks or modules. These blocks are normally, again, drag and drop modules. They allow you to add features such as simple text boxes right through to more complex options such as galleries, carousels, or even e-commerce based shop products. So there's a variety of things that we can do there with those modules. We then have the ability to instant style, and that allows us to very quickly change our font, our text color, and the color of our website, the size of the buttons, and they allow you to very quickly adapt the design elements through simple drag and drop features or drop down features. And to add to that, we also have more options for templating. So the ability, and one of the things I'm going to show you today is the ability to use what's called a template kit. And that's where, like a theme, you can actually have a whole website built in about 5 minutes. And it's so easy to get started. It allows you to jumpstart your process without having the need to go and design a website from scratch and then change it all later. So this allows you, using templates or the template kit, allows you just an extra level of detail to add to this. And then lastly, add-ons. A lot of the plugins that we will show you today are suited for the mass market. There will be that one feature your business needs. It could be a quote calculator. Maybe you want someone to type in a form and it gives them maybe a quote straight away. Maybe someone else would like to have a video hovering in or moving in from the side of the website. There is a series of add-ons for a lot of these builders that allow you to just add in unique features as you go, and that's through a series of those plugins. So again, when we look into WordPress, picking a builder is an extremely important yet also challenging step as part of our process. And so you'll see on screen, I've just provided you with just a small sample of some of the builders that are available. We have Elementor, which is one of the ones that we'll look at today in just a moment. We have Beaver Builder, Divi, Visual Composer, and Oxygen. Now, all of these builders are effectively the same thing when it comes to WordPress. They all offer drag and drop style features that allow you to design and build your own website for free at home. Now, some of these builders will have paid or premium services and versions that we'll show you. Some of the builders might have a slightly different training method or a slightly different approach, but ultimately they're all part of the same tool. They all use the same technology underneath. And as a result, it's about finding the best one that suits your needs. If you need a simple, clean and small website, 𝗕𝑖𝐵 is actually one of the easiest to use. 𝗕𝑖𝐵 is very clean, it's very minimal, it's very simple to use, and it's an easy one to get started with. Elementor and Beaver Builder are competing. They're very similar tools, and they both compete with each other in terms of how easy they are to use, but also they are expandable. They have a lot of features and a lot of add-ons. And then we have two more. Visual Composer is slightly older. It's an outdated system. It's very traditional, though, for older websites that may have been built using WordPress to use Visual Composer, or also known as 𝗕𝗂𝗶𝗴𝗶𝗏. And that allows you to design and build websites using pre-styled blocks. The last one on the list is called Oxygen. This is for those that are maybe more experienced in development. So for those that maybe have used code before, they've maybe used HTML, CSS, and they have an interest for web design and development. Oxygen allows you more freedom, as it's developer friendly is the best way to explain it. And it's one that's for those that want to experiment more with building websites. For today's session, though, we are going to look at Elementor. Elementor is the #1 page builder currently available today. And you can access their website by going to elementor.com, which you'll see I have open on screen now. And Elementor is a drag and drop builder. So you can see an example image here that just shows you how it works, how you use templates and you can drag and drop in sections. I'm going to show you how to do this today. I'm going to show you how to build a whole website and all of the pages very quickly. And then we can go into more detail on how to use different elements of Elementor later. Now, one thing to note for today's session, I do have a premium version. So Elementor by itself is free, but then they also have Elementor Pro. Now, Elementor Pro will allow you a lot more features. Most importantly, it will allow you to have access to the Pro templates library. Now, I will be showing you both the free library and the Pro library today, but it is important just for your awareness that you know that there is a free version and also a Pro version of Elementor, which I would definitely encourage you to experiment with and to have a go at. So just before we move off into the practical sense of WordPress, and we start actually to move away from the PowerPoint presentation and then into WordPress and Elementor, I will leave just another gap there. I think there was a few questions potentially coming in, but if anyone does have any questions, if anyone has the ability to go into WordPress in more detail or ask about plugins, please do ask. I'm just going to again pause there. So any questions, please do ask us in the chat and I'll be happy to ask. I'll leave another couple of seconds there. Excellent. Okay, so moving into WordPress. So when we look at WordPress, as you remember before, we used the logo by Flywheel to create our website for the first time. So we were able to download our application and we were able to add a new site to our logo by Flywheel. So now that we have created our WordPress dashboard, you can see here, this is the first screen that you'll find when you access WordPress for the first time. Now, when we access WordPress for the first time, we have a series of menus that run down the left-hand side of our screen. Now, on these menus, this can be a bit overwhelming at first. So you might have a series of different pages. If you purchase the theme, you might have even different options that run down the left-hand side of the screen. So for anyone that has purchased a theme or has used WordPress before, your menu might look different. It just depends on the steps that you've followed and what you've done. So the first thing we're going to do when we get started with the WordPress dashboard is just to give you a tour, let you see what the options are, and then we'll start to talk about our themes and our plugins. So the first thing we have is the WordPress dashboard. The WordPress dashboard allows you to see latest news and updates on your site activity. So if we scroll down the dashboard, we can see there's a series of information. The first is from Elementor itself, which shows us pages that we've recently worked on. We have the ability underneath that to see the site health. So as it's a new site, it won't have built up a health profile just yet, but this helps us understand site security. This allows us to see, is the site stable, is it secure, and is there any plugins that require updates? So this is a new feature that WordPress has added simply to help you understand how your website's working. We then have at a glance an activity, and this again allows you to see the number of pages, posts, and overall general activity that's currently active on your website at the moment. So this just gives you an understanding of the overall dashboard behind WordPress. Now, this again can change from site to site, but in most cases, we have set up a basic dashboard here. The very first tab then we have underneath dashboard is posts. Posts is something you'll see I have set up before this call already as a demo, but posts is where in WordPress you can have what's called dynamic content. Treat posts almost as your latest news or your blog, anywhere that you will have content being regularly updated and added to the website. And that's why I would say try to imagine a blog or a latest news page being added to the website. And that will allow you to create different features, which we're going to go into very shortly. After posts, we have media. And the media library is an area where you can upload any relevant media that you're going to upload to your website. This can be most commonly found for JPEG, PNG, photography, and images, but it can also be used for other elements or other artwork, such as PDFs or any documents that you want people to download and add to your site. Now, the media library is very easy to use. To use the media library, if we go in on the left-hand side, we can click on media. And from here, we can then click on add new. Now, on your computer, it will allow you to drag and drop files from your local computer, or you can left click on select, and that will allow you to add files from your home computer. Now, when we add files to the media library for the first time, you can see that they will appear here in the date order that they were uploaded. Now, when we click on any image or file, you will see here we have an image preview, which allows us to see the time and date that this image was uploaded. It allows us to see some key elements, such as the file size and also the size of the image, the dimensions of the image. Now, one important thing to note for anyone that is using WordPress, for search engine optimization, so SEO, so in order to help Google search, put your website and your business as high up the list as possible, or if not page one of the key things that you can do on your website is to add two important categories. The first one is called alternative text. And alternative text is used by visual screen reading technology. So for those that have narration on your phone, or for those that use screen reading technology, that technology will use the alternative text, otherwise known as alternative tags, to understand what an image actually is. So Google is getting smarter. It is starting to pick up on what is in an image, but you need to help it. And so for search engine optimization, it is good practice to add alternative text and also to add a description. Now, some examples of alternative text, you want to try and think of keywords. So if you're describing an image, and if you sell, in this case, you sell flooring for a kitchen or a dining room, you might want to say that this is a hardwood floor dining table. And the idea here is you're describing this picture to Google. The description is exactly the same. So in the description box, we want to do the same job. We want to describe to Google search what actually an image is. Be it, again, if we're selling furniture or we're selling a product, we want to display or explain to Google what they would expect to see. And so good practice for your media library on WordPress is to add alternative text and descriptions to every image as and when you upload it to the media library. And this will help you and help Google understand what you do. And that's the first place to start when it comes to the media library. The next tab then is pages. Pages are the core part of any website. Pages are what we call static pages. These are pages that don't really change. They're normally long-term. And so pages you would expect to see would be the home page, the about page, the gallery, contact us, and even services. And the idea of these pages is that you will go into here, you will be able to edit it, but they are the core elements of the website. So a lot of users get confused between pages and posts. So just to recap, a post is something that's dynamic. It's something that's going to be replaced by the previous one. You might have a page on your website called news or blog, and it will show you lists of posts. But these posts will continually be added to a page, and that's where you'll see here we have pages which are static. They remain there throughout the entire life of the website, and you can add as many new pages as you wish, and we're going to show you how to add new pages and how to edit pages. But the important thing to note is the difference between a post and a page, and when you should use posts or pages on your own website. We then have a few other elements. On the left-hand side, we have comments. Comments are used for blogging or for posts. So if someone wants to comment on one of your posts on your website or your news page, as an example, you would see those comments in there, and you could reply to those comments or remove it if need be. So the comments feature is an area that you can access on the site. We then have two other options. So for those that are following along with this session, you might not see these just yet, and they're part of the Elementor plugin. And I'm going to show you very shortly how to add in themes and plugins to the site. So you'll see here on the left-hand side, we have Elementor and templates, which are both part of the Elementor plugin range that we talked about before. So I'm going to come back to those. Finally, then we have just the last couple of boxes. The first one we have here, which is appearance. Appearance is a big part of your WordPress styling. So when we think about the styling of the site, we want to think about the theme that we used. And we talked about the themes before and the difference between a premium theme and a free theme. We then have the ability to customize our website. So if we use a premium theme, the customize options will give us a lot more to change. However, in this session, in this example, we're using a free theme. So we will have very limited low access to the theme customizer settings. We then have the menu, and I'm just going to show you the menu now. So if we go to the menu, you'll see here we have the ability to create different menus on our website and also add multiple pages or create pages and add them to the menu. So most websites will have a main primary menu, which you'll see here we've called primary menu. And in here we have our pages. This allows us to add pages to that menu and also drag and drop our menu so that we're happy with the order. Should we want services to come last or gallery or about us, we can click and drag each of those pages around in the menu order. And so as I've been going through this, you might be asking, how have I got all these pages already here? How have I got all the posts? Well, one of the things that we've done to set up this call today is we've used Elementor to get started. So the next tab, and what I want you to follow along with, is the plugins. Plugins, as we mentioned before, are a key part of WordPress. Plugins allow you to add on things like visual builders. We can use plugins to add on additional features such as e-commerce or booking systems, or many different options. And so one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to add Elementor to the website. So you'll see it's already done in this example, but if we want to add Elementor from scratch, so if we've just set up our website, the first thing we want to do is we want to go to plugins and we want to go to add new. And from here, then we want to search for Elementor. So if we search for Elementor in the plugin list, you will see that Elementor will come up here, and beside Elementor will be a sign like this that says install now, and we can left click install now, and after we install it, it will then change to blue and it will give you an option to activate, and you want to then left click on activate, and that will install Elementor. Now, for those that would also like to invest or to look more into Elementor Pro, and that's the example I'm going to be using, you can purchase Elementor Pro and then you can upload it to your website in the same steps. You'll see up here where it says upload plugin. You can click on that and you can also upload Elementor Pro to your website. Once you've installed any plugin, you can click on the plugins tab on the left-hand side to see the Elementor plugins that are there, both the free version for those who are wanting to follow along for free today, and also the pro version as well for those that would like to access some other features. So again, this session is for both anyone who's wanting to start for free, but also for those that maybe want to invest and to purchase some plugins that we would recommend. So now that we've installed our plugin, the next step is to install our theme. So if we go back to appearance and we click on themes, by default, WordPress will install a theme for you. And so what we can do is we can add our own theme to the website here by going to themes and then to add new. Now, when we click on add new, you will see this is almost the same as the plugins. This is a theme store that allows you to browse all of the free themes that WordPress has. So there's 5,223 at the moment. So you can have a bit of fun going through this later. As I mentioned already, themes do give you different options. They change the site, they give you a style to play with. I personally would recommend this theme here called the Hello theme. The Hello theme has been developed by Elementor. It's specifically for Elementor websites. And the reason for this is that it's a very plain theme. There's not a lot to it. As you can see, it's just really plain, really lightweight. But the idea is that we want to use Elementor to actually build the majority of our pages. We want to use Elementor as the main engine behind the website. And so the theme is just there to give us the framework. And that's the first step when it comes to using the builder or a theme or even both. And that's why we'd recommend, if you are getting started, if you want to experiment, is to try the Hello theme with Elementor for free, and you can set that up today. Once you've installed Elementor and you've also installed your theme, you'll notice that nothing really changes on the left-hand side of the website. Everything's the same. The only thing that will come in, or the only thing that will be new, is the two boxes I mentioned before, which is Elementor and templates. And this is the first time that we're going to really get looking at building pages or editing pages. So if you wanted to build a page from scratch, you could, once you've installed Elementor, you can go to pages, you can left click on add new, and you can begin to build your new page. And we're just going to call this demo. And you'll see in here, we have the ability at the top of the screen to click on edit with Elementor. And that will bring us to a blank canvas with nothing on it, and we can start to build pages. Now, as you've seen already, my own recommendation is to actually use what's called templates or template kits. And these are features both free and premium that come with Elementor to help you get started. So in this example, I want to build a flooring website. I want to build a website that specializes in flooring for your house, be that wood, floor, carpet, something that's just going to help you if you're building a house or you're building a new business. You need flooring underneath. I know it's different, no digital here, but it's to give you an idea. So what we want to do for those that installed Elementor is we want to go to templates on the left-hand side, and we want to go down to kit library. Template kits are very similar to themes in WordPress. There is a big variety. There is a lot to choose from, and they also cover different ranges from blogs to events to even hair and beauty. There's a lot of options. And the idea of a template kit is to simply help you get started. We use template kits in our industry to give you the basis, to give you the framework of everything that you need. So you can go through here at your own time and you can have a look at websites that might suit you. If, for instance, you would like to have a restaurant website, we can click on an example and we can see the styling, we can see the large imagery, the layout, the nice clean icons. And you can actually use this for your own website. These template kits, even with the pop-ups, they're set up to allow you to get started. And this is why we often recommend try to use templates from Elementor as a way of kickstarting how quickly you can get a website up and running. I'm not trying to say that you can hit apply kit and change the name and change the logo and then it's done. You might want to do that, but this is just to help you get started, to help you understand how you can build a website very quickly and also learn as you move. So in this example, I'm going to click on back to library. I'm going to search for our flooring website. And here you can see, I can view our demo. I can view the website and I can see the layout. I can see the logo, the photos, the services. I can see all the animation. It allows me to test the website. I can even go and check this website on mobile just to see how it looks on a mobile device, and I can see it's already set up in full. So what I can do now is that when I'm ready to apply this kit, or actually add this template kit to our site, I can left click on Apply Kit in the top right-hand corner, and it will give you a series of instructions to follow through. And so once you've applied that kit, you will then find that your website will be the same as mine. You will find that when you go to Pages, you will have all of the pages from the template kit. When you go to Posts, you will have all of the posts from the template kit, and you will also have the media library populated with images from the template kit. And the idea of the template is to simply help you get started. As I mentioned already, it's a nice way to just get familiar with using Elementor. So for the first time, we're now going to start using the Elementor editor. So now that we have our site built in terms of the template kit, we now want to get started with actually using Elementor itself. So step one is to go to Pages, and then to go to Edit for the home page as an example. And within here, we can now click on the box in the middle that says Edit with Elementor. So when we click on Edit with Elementor, we'll now be taken to a screen that will, it may be a little confusing. There's a lot on screen at one time. We have boxes down the left, and then we also have the design of the site in the middle of our screen. As we hover over everything with our mouse or our cursor, we can also see the boxes highlighting even further. So we can see this blue pencil tool and this container that goes around the fake or the dummy text. If we scroll down further again, we can see that as we highlight each section, we can also then see the different elements that are appearing. So you'll suddenly notice that because of the template kit, I now have a full website in front of me. Yes, it's fake. So it's got what we call lorem ipsum, which is just fake placeholder text. But now we have the ability to begin to either edit, or if you wish, completely destroy what was there before and change it to something of your own. So to give you a very quick insight into Elementor and to show you how to make some basic edits, it's as simple as just left clicking on something you want to change. So for example, if I wanted to change this hero text, I can just left click the pencil tool while highlighting it with the cursor. When I select this, the left-hand side will then change. And this allows me to then test, and I can type in any text at all. And in real time, I will see the change on the screen. So I could say kitchen flooring, and you'll see very quickly that will type in the text in real time. I'm able to see it. I can see how it's formatted. And if I'm unsure, I can add in more text. Let me see, kitchen flooring. And this is just an example, but it's just to give you an idea of how the text formats. So in this left-hand panel, this is the Elementor element section. This is what Elementor call it. They call them elements. And so within this element, we can see here, we have a text box where we can change the title. We can change what content goes inside of the box. We can also link the text itself. So remember, we're only editing what's highlighted here in the small blue line with the pencil tool. So we can link this text to another page. If we wanted to type in maybe the About page, then we can link it to the About page, which means if someone clicks on it, it will take them to the About page. We can also change the tag. So for those that are familiar with SEO or search engine optimization, it is important that we have at least one heading 1 or H1 on all pages. And then we can also use other headings just to help Google understand the hierarchy. And if you have any questions on SEO or good practice, please ask in the chat. And then finally, we also have options for alignment, where we can center, left align, or justify the space using the same elements that we used to on something like Microsoft Word or Google Docs. What you might also have noticed is along the top, we have 3 tabs. So in our elements box on the left-hand side, we have a tab for style. In the style tab, we can change things like the color. So if we wanted to play around with different color palettes, if we wanted to change our reference color, we can have a free range of colors here. For those that are familiar with what's called hex codes, you can also copy and paste the hex code and keep yourself on brand. So this allows you to have complete control over your website and even change the basics of color and font. If we wanted to change the typography, so the font style or the font size, you'll see here we have the pencil tool, and we can left click on that, and we can change the font size. We can make it bigger, smaller. We can also adjust the thickness of the font, and this allows you to adjust various steps and stages on the website, be it the spacing between each characters, or even adjusting further settings on the typography page itself or the settings there. Each element in Elementor interacts in the same way. So if we left click the next section down, you can see that we have a very similar box. So we could change this to based in the UK or based in North Cyprus. We could change it to anything at all. It is a free text box. Type in whatever we would like to do on the screen, and that will allow you to adjust and test. And then once again, we can use the style tab to change or to adjust things like font size, spacing, the thickness of the font. All of those options are possible within the text editor. And WordPress or Elementor is very repetitive. What I mean by repetitive is that once you get used to this idea of clicking on an element, the left-hand side will give you 3 tabs: content, style, and advanced. We'll talk about advanced in a second. You will become very comfortable with making changes and also adding elements to the site. And this is the #1 reason why I'd always recommend starting with a template first and then begin to construct it the way you want for your business. So as an example here, we also have the advanced tab. And within the advanced tab, we can also change things as part of the site. And I'm not going to go into this in too much detail now, but if, for example, you wanted to have motion effects, so as you load the website for the first time, you can have entrance animation. So you can have the text actually fade in as you scroll down the page. You can have text zooming in from the right-hand side. So the advanced tab allows you more features. It allows you to have a bit more fun with the website, more than just having what we call static content, where you load the site, everything's there. The advanced section allows you just to play with this a bit more and create more space and work with the sections. Now, if you get a template like this and you decide that you don't like the imagery, you don't like the layout, well, you can actually change the imagery in exactly the same way as you'd imagine. You just left click, put your cursor or your mouse on top of the image, left click, and then you'll notice on the left-hand side, the tab will once again change to allow you to adjust. Here, we can add in new images. So on the left-hand side, you will see we have the ability to choose an image. We can pick an image from our website. And again, as we mentioned earlier, we could either upload an image again. So from here, we can add a new image, or we can go to the media library and we can add in or change the image to one that already exists. Now, because of the style of the image, either being horizontal, so a landscape image, or portrait, a vertical image, this may obviously adjust the design, as you can see here. So the image before was a landscape, or sorry, it was a portrait image, and that allowed us to obviously change the style of the site. So now that we've made a mistake or we've caused a problem, you may want to know, how do you go back? How do you go hit the back arrow and fix that problem? Well, firstly, you can do one of 2 things. You can, if you're familiar with your keyboard shortcuts on Windows, you can press Control-Z. For me on Apple, I could press Command-Z, or in the bottom left-hand corner, we have a series of tabs. These icons give you different tools and controls within Elementor. One of the tabs we have here is called History. And if we left click on History, you will see here we have a full timeline on everything that we've done on the website, from changing the spacing, the headings, the text color, right through to the very start, where we were just playing with the design itself and changing the photos. So the History tab is a great way of being able to experiment without the fear of breaking your entire website. And that's the History tab. It allows you to see actions that have been done while you've been working on the site. And it also allows you to see revisions. And revisions are allowing you to see over the course of the entire website's lifetime. That might be, you can see this morning when we were setting things up for this call, or it might be 30 days ago, where I can then go back to see what the site was back then and restore it if I needed to. So the idea of using the history tab gives you comfort in knowing that you can make mistakes, you can break things, and not worry about losing out on all the work that you've done. And that's the history tab. We also have some other tools along the bottom here on the left-hand side. If I just zoom in, you can see them here. And the first tool that we have there on the left is the settings tool. The settings tool allows you to change the page name. So you'll remember before, we're currently editing the home page, but if I want to edit the home page name, I can change that here. And I can also change some of the settings that are maybe more advanced for now, but this just gives you an idea on what you can change in the page settings. We then have the second icon across, which is called the navigator. The navigator is useful for those that are familiar with things like Photoshop or Canva, where you will have the option to drag and drop layers. So if you were looking for the button here that says learn more, we could find that by left clicking here, and it will automatically highlight that for us on the left hand side of our screen. So when you start to build bigger projects and bigger websites, the navigator, which is the second option in, is an easy way to find everything that's on the screen at one time. And it allows you to quickly select, I want to edit this heading, or I want to edit this image, and change the design of your site if you need to. The next tab, it was the history that we just discussed. And then we have what's called responsive mode. And this is one of the biggest features with Elementor, is it allows you to scale a website on mobile. So as we know, mobile is one of the most important things that we're designing for our customers, we're designing for our users. And we would predict that an average of 60% plus of our audiences are using mobile. I've just seen a question there, that might be.
Yes, Stefan, hi, yes. We received one question from our participants. So I'm going to read it in Turkish and I will let the interpreter to translate it. Will you hear it? Okay then. Merhaba, şirketim için hazırlanan web sayfasını incelediğimde tam olarak WordPress ile hazırlandığını görüyorum. Demin hangi şablon kiti ile Elementor, 𝐕𝐸𝑜xygen hazırlandığını anlamamın pratik bir yolu var mı?
Excellent. Excellent. Very good question. When we look at how has your current website been built, there is a series of tools that we can use. And if I just actually want to save this for a second, I will come back. Very good question. So if you go to your WordPress dashboard, so for anyone that is using WordPress right now, if you go to your plugins on the left-hand side, you should see the builder there. If it's using a page builder or a template kit, you should see Oxygen, Divi, Elementor. Now, if the site has been custom built, as an example, a developer has coded everything, you might not see a builder. Normally it will say it's a website builder in the description. And in that case, you might be restricted. You might not have control over your website, but you can add Elementor to any website that already exists. So if you're using a site right now that does not use a page builder, and maybe you would like to add one, or maybe it uses a builder that you're not comfortable or familiar with, you can add Elementor or Oxygen or Divi to a website that already exists. Now, one note, adding too many page builders or adding too many plugins can really slow down your website. So it's not the best practice to add in loads of plugins and loads of builders, because they will really slow down the site. But you can add Elementor to a WordPress website that already exists. I hope that answers that question. Perfect. Just while there was a gap there, any other questions, do feel free to ask. Please just shout at me if you do. So just to continue where we were with Elementor and where we went into to editing the pages, I did want to show you as well how you can use Elementor to add sections. So we discussed editing. So again, just to remind you, is we just left click once on whatever we want to edit. If it's a button or a text or an image field, you will find on the left-hand side, the settings will change in according to what you've clicked. So as the example here we have the button. And on the button, we can change the text of the button. So we can say read more, or we can say buy now. And the link, as you imagine, will be the link to the product or to the page that we want to go to. And so we can just type in services and it will bring up the service page, and we can just left click our services page. We can also change the alignment of the button. Again, center, left, right align. And we can go further and change the size of the button. And you can also use the style tab to change that in more detail. If we wanted to change the color, once again, of the text in the middle, we can do that. If we wanted to change the hover effect, so when we put our mouse on top of the button, do we want to change the color of the button? So if we hover over it, it should go orange and the text would go white. You can have that control in Elementor through both those tabs that we looked at before, the content tab, style tab, and the advanced, if you wanted to go in there and play with more advanced options. The benefit of this is, as you will see, it is rinse and repeat. The same stages, the same thing applies as we go down. So as we go down the page, I don't want to spend too much time going into editing what's already there. If, however, you wanted to start changing the template for your own business. So let's say, for example, I am not going to have 6 services. I am only going to have just 1 service. Well, what I can do in Elementor is I can delete whole sections. Again, sections are highlighted by the blue outline, and you'll see that you have a section within a section. And within each section, you can have columns as highlighted in the gray. So as I said, there's a lot of lines on the screen. It can be a bit confusing. And so sometimes it's good to start with these template kits to learn how they work. And so, for example, I just want to have just 1 service. I'm going to go and delete this entire section. And I'm going to delete this section. And that will now leave me with this gap on the right-hand side. Now, if I was to update this, and left click on the bottom left corner, the green update button, and save this, I can use one more tool that I didn't show you before after responsive mode, which is to preview the website changes. If I left click on preview, this will open the website as it would for your consumer or your audience. So it allows you to see the website, it allows you to see the changes from the larger font. And if we were to scroll down, you'll notice we have this big gap. So I just wanted to show you that even if you delete things from the site, you're not going to see these lines or these plus buttons. It's just showing you here is where you can start to add something new to your website. And that's where the preview option in here on the left-hand side allows you to just check the site. Now, when it comes to adding elements or Elementor tools for the first time, we have a number of options. So if, for example, we were editing the text and that was the last thing that we did, you'll notice that we can either click on the plus button, and you will notice that on the left-hand side, we have now a series of elements, and these are for all different types. We have things like calls to action. We have the option to add in headings. We can add in video, buttons, or even more. And you can spend so much time going through these options, and you can play with different things that are there. What we can also do, if we go back to our text, you will notice an icon in the top right-hand corner. It looks like a menu grid burger. If we click on this menu item, it will then change to the same place. And this is the first time you will see the drag and drop features that we discussed before. So if I wanted to add a video from YouTube, I can hover my mouse or cursor on top of the video, and I can left click and I can begin to drag that across the screen until you now see the blue rectangle that appears. And if I let go of the left mouse button, it will now drop in a video. And you'll notice again on the left-hand side, the settings have now changed to allow me to change some of the details. So here we can see I can change this to a YouTube video. I could change it to Vimeo, Daily Motion, or even self-hosted. Self-hosted is where you would upload the file to your WordPress website. For performance reasons and for SEO, we recommend to use YouTube for any form of online video, as this will help your website load faster and will also help you with search engine optimization, because YouTube is owned by Google and that creates links to YouTube and to Google from your website. And in here, you can add in the link to YouTube, or the link, if you were to change this to Vimeo, you can add in the link to Vimeo or to YouTube. And you can also specify options such as the start time, the end time, or even change some of the options. So at this stage, you're able to play with the settings, style the video, add in links, and then also go back to your menu and add in more features. For example, if you wanted to add in a button under the video, we can drag and drop in our button. You can see, because of our template kit, our button is already styled. And if we wanted to, we could go to style. We can change the button color, and we can change it to a completely different color if we wish. We can go to our content and we can say sign up, and then we can link that to our contact page. And that allows us now to very quickly and easily add in different sections to our website and to use the template kit that we had before to very quickly change it to match our own business and our own brand. And that's the main reason why I wanted to show you today how to use the template kits as a way of getting started. So you can go through this and you can carry out the same steps throughout the website if you wanted to add, delete, or remove sections as you go down each page. Just before I move on to the questions there, I will show you then how to build a new page if you wanted to completely from scratch, as well as looking at different template kits that might suit you and your business better for all of the settings. Sorry, I think you had a question there as well.
Evet Stefan, katılımcılarımızdan birisinin bir sorusu var. Soru şu şekilde: Pop-up özelliğini nasıl etkinleştirebileceğimi merak ediyorum. Bu sorumun cevabı eğitim programınızda varsa süreci heyecanla takip edeceğim. Teşekkürler.
Perfect. Thank you for that. I will definitely go through the pop-up feature in Elementor. So good question. A spoiler for anyone that's never used the pop-up feature before. So Elementor is not just for building pages and building posts. It also allows you to build some add-on features, and we will come to the pop-up feature. So thank you for that. I will definitely bring that up as we go. So when we go through our Elementor editor, the whole idea of everything that we've discussed up until now is done on a local server. Remember that this is only for your computer at home. If you want to share it with friends, family, or colleagues, you might need to bring them to your computer because this is not online. And so I encourage you to experiment, test with everything that I've showed you here. Don't be afraid to break something. If you wanted to change the font size, the font that you're using, play with the features that are there and try and have fun and really play with things that are on the screen, break it. You can break these things and work with what works best for your business and what works best for you. When it comes to working with Elementor, as I mentioned already, you have the ability to edit something that's already done. Or if we now go back, so if we use the menu, so just to show you how to exit Elementor, on the top left-hand corner, we can see the menu button. We can left click on the menu button and then we can exit. And exit will take us back to the page that we were editing before. So if we want to go back to WordPress, make sure you click on the gray dot in the corner, the black square, and that will take you back to the WordPress dashboard or to pages that we were on before. Now, if we wanted to create a page from scratch in Elementor, if we wanted to create a brand new page, so again, for those that are using the free version of Elementor and they're not using a template kit, well, you also have the ability to do this too. So if we go to pages, and we're just going to create our demo page that we mentioned before. We can now left click on edit with Elementor and give it a couple of seconds, and you will see that we have this demo page. You'll notice, firstly, we have the header and we have the footer of the website. They will always show. The header and the footer on websites are global. And when we install the template kit, they automatically were added to the page. So if we want to edit the header, we can just left click here, or the footer, we can left click here, and it will take us into an Elementor version of the header and footer. But as you will notice, we have a few problems. So firstly, we have our header, which is okay, but we have demo highlighted across the top. And so earlier, when we looked at our tools, we remember the settings button down the bottom left. We want to left click on settings, and you'll see here, we want to hide the page title. Notice how the page title by default, WordPress will always put a page title in the top left-hand corner in Elementor. So we want to hide that title. And now we have a blank canvas to start building pages. So for those that want to start building pages from scratch, you can do that. You can just left click on the plus, and you can start to choose the columns or the structure. So if you wanted to have a service section with text on the left-hand side and video on the right, you can do that to select the structure. So we can select here the appropriate structure. You'll see everything moves to the top. That is something that WordPress will do. And so here you can add in, so we click our plus button, we can drag in sections, we can add in new text, and we can start to build out the page with different headings. We can add in imagery, and you can really start to create a custom website for your own requirements, and you can start to play around with pages. One thing though that I want to show you, if we go down, I'm just going to scroll down, and you'll notice that there was another icon for a folder. If you're still unsure of what you're creating, if you're not sure how to use Elementor, you can actually use a template feature that is both on the free and the premium version of Elementor. And so when we click on the folder icon, this will actually allow us to add other template pages or even template blocks to WordPress. And so the idea here is that if you're using a template kit, as you'd see, or even if you're building from scratch and you want to use a blank page, or you want to just create something yourself, but you need a little inspiration or you need help, you can create sections here where we have called blocks, and blocks allow you to use pre-made elements. So these are elements that are built in Elementor that are completely set up that you can use for yourself. An example here, for instance, you'll notice how there's a difference. See the tag for Pro. So for those that have paid for Elementor Pro, you can use everything. But for those that are even using the free plan, you can click Insert. And if you give it a few seconds, it will then add that template to your page. Now it will add in the font. So you might need to left click on the text that you want to edit. You will need to go to Style. You can go to Typography, and you can change the font to whatever font that suits you best, or whatever font that you've been using. But the idea is that this is all pre-set up for you, and it allows you, if you wish, to even go as far as building pages just using templates. So we have an About section. We can then go and add another section for services or maybe our clients. And I'm not saying that this will look really good or it will be fall together nicely, but it allows you to very quickly to add in core samples or core examples of a website very quickly without the need to go and drag and drop every feature in. And so a lot of the work that you will do in Elementor and any of the page builders will be done by adding elements, by adding templates together. So you can very quickly see about the business, the clients that we work with, how to get in touch, and even go as far, and I'm glad the individual had asked the question about pop-ups. Elementor also has additional features for adding in things like forms and what we would call conversions. So if I just delete this form, so I'm going to select the form, I'm going to right click with my mouse or cursor on the pencil tool, and you'll notice we have this pop-up. I can delete this form, and I just want to show you, for anyone that's using Elementor Pro, the ability to create forms on your website. So if we go to our menu and select our modules, we can search for form by going into the search bar, and we can search for form, and we can left click and drag our form into the space provided. Now you'll see on the left hand side we have a lot more options than what we had seen before when it came to editing text. So what we can do here is we can give the form a name, so we'll call it Contact Us. We can add in fields to our form, so if we're a business and we're, in my case, we are doing floors or we're doing furniture, then we can start to ask questions. So the first box we can ask for is the name, then the email address, and the message, so the actual message box at the bottom. However, we might also want to add in additional items for phone number. So if we click Add Item, we can change the type of question to a series of options here. So we can choose things from an email again. We can ask for a radio option, so yes or no. If, for instance, someone wants to sign up to your marketing, you can give them the option to choose yes or no. We have options for drop downs, so they can select from a series of options, or you'll see an option here for tel, which is telephone. So we can use telephone. We can give the field a label, and we can just call this contact number. And then we can also put in what's called a placeholder. And now the placeholder is what you will find will be in the position or the place of the data. So when someone starts typing, it will take it out. So we could just do the same, contact number. And now what you will find is we have the order is maybe wrong. We maybe want to have contact number under email. So all we need to do is left click with our mouse and just drag it up to where we want it to go, and let go of the left mouse button. And now you will see the contact number will move to the top of the screen. And that will allow you now to order the contact forms. And also, if you wish, if you click on the settings, so we just click on contact number, we can see we have the ability to make this required. This will force the user to enter those details. And for our own websites, then we can have the ability to collect contact information such as phone numbers. Now, if we want to change the settings to be more advanced, if we scroll down, we can see we have a couple of options, mainly these three here. So we have actions after submit, which will tell us to send an email. It will also allow us to collect submissions, and that's something I will show you shortly. And we also have the ability, if we wanted someone to go, for instance, to MailChimp. So if we were using MailChimp as our email marketing, we might want to send the data that goes into the form off to a MailChimp account, or even other campaigns that are listed here, something like Slack or Discord. And those features exist within Elementor. And if you do have any questions on those, please do ask. We also have the ability to collect submissions. So we'll show you this very soon. And this allows you to have WordPress store the contact information on the website as well as send you an email. And this is useful for just simply making sure that your emails are being sent and you're not missing anything from the website. In the addition, or if you wish to add in emails, you can also change who receives the email. So who the actual contact form is going to be sent to once I filled it in. And also things like the subject line and the message box itself. Now, we always recommend keeping this as all fields. That just means it will put out the name, the email, the contact number, and the message in the email itself. But this allows you, again, to also customize how the form will look. So if you're building a contact form for your own business and you need it to go to certain people or particular staff, you can put in email addresses and even add in a comma and then other email addresses for those to also get a copy as well. And so this gives you an extra level of control when it comes to the website and also when it comes to contact forms in terms of adding new features. Now, I'm just going to exit this page. I don't want to save what I've done here. This was just an example. But again, if you have any questions on building pages with the template in Elementor, with template kits, or from a blank or empty canvas, please don't hesitate to ask in the chat feature, and I will go through any questions that you have. One of the features that Elementor also has is a series of other tools, and these allow you to build things like pop-ups, themes. And when we talk about themes, we mentioned before, themes control the layout and the structure of the website. Themes also control the header, the footer, and what we call dynamic pages. And we also have the ability to create landing pages and pop-ups, as I mentioned. So we'll very quickly look at pop-ups. I am conscious of time. So pop-ups are a great feature of helping users convert online. So for those that aren't aware, a pop-up can be a trigger event on any website. A trigger is anything that makes a pop-up actually open. That could be something like time on site. So if I've opened your website for the first time and I spend 3 seconds looking at the wonderful content, I can force that pop-up to display to all customers. As you can see, perfect timing here. So we can see our pop-up coming up as the user scrolls down the page to give them a percentage off. So we can see here, we give them 10% off if they sign up to the email. Now, in order to do or make pop-ups, you will notice once again, when we go into templates and we go into pop-ups, I have ones already set up. So here we can see the templates, the actual template kit has actually installed pop-ups for us already. The one that we're going to look at is the discount pop-up. So if we left click on edit, once again here, we can see edit with Elementor, and we now have the ability to edit a pop-up that exists. So immediately it will show you how it looks. It will show you the gray background and also the tag. So here we can edit what already exists. So just as before, and you will all get sick of listening to me say the same thing, but we can left click on the pencil tool and we can change the text and we can have that whatever we want to say. So sign up. And then we could just leave it as 10% off. We can also put in a change here. So if we wanted to offer 20%, or no, not 120, 20%. And we can also then add in some links. We can add in the style of our website. If we wanted to change the color again, if we wanted to change font size, we can do all that through the settings here. So in Elementor, this is very similar to what you'd seen already. However, if we go and click on the settings in the bottom left corner, as we've seen before, so remember our tools from earlier, we can see that the settings are different. This time, settings are specific to the pop-up. This now allows you to style the size or the width of the pop-up. It allows you to adjust the position of the pop-up if you want it to be centered or in the middle of the screen, or maybe you want it to be off the bottom right-hand corner. It also allows you to justify, do you want the screen to be darkened down? So do you want the background to be replaced with a darker color? Or even adding in a close button to make sure that people know how to close the pop-up. In addition to this, we also have some advanced options for animations. So we have the ability to select how the pop-up will come in, whether it fades up from the bottom or it slides in from the left. And we have the ability to select how long it takes. So how long does the pop-up stay in that duration in the animation? So 1.2 milliseconds to get across the screen. And so in these settings, we can control where the pop-up is displayed. And then we can also, in the advanced tab, we can select some conditions. We can select it to automatically close after a certain number of seconds. So we can say only keep the pop-up open for say 10 seconds before it will automatically close again. And so the style and the advanced tab will give you a bit more control over how to use the pop-up. Now, one of the things that we can also do, as normal, you would see the ability to update, and that would save the pop-up itself. It would save what we've done. We also have the ability here, you will notice beside the pop-up here where it says Save Options, this is the up arrow. When you click this, it will give you more advanced options. So these options wouldn't exist on pages. But here we have the ability to change how the pop-up is going to be displayed. First of all, we have triggers. Triggers allow you to set certain rules, and this is very easy. There's no coding involved. So as you will see from before, the previous pop-up was set that when you scroll down to 50% of the page, and so yes, to turn it on, it would then trigger that pop-up and it would display on the website. If we wanted to also have a pop-up set that when someone clicks maybe 5 times on the page, so maybe they click one button to play a video, maybe they click another button to highlight a bit of text, we can also then do the same, and we can say, yes, display the pop-up when someone clicks 5 times. Now that is just an example, but we can have that for a series of options, including inactivity. So if someone is sitting on the page for 30 seconds or less, it will display a pop-up when they don't do anything. So if they've been sitting there, they haven't moved, we can give them a pop-up to actually hit the page. One of the most important ones that we see, and one of the most requested, is what's called an exit intent. And this will track the user's mouse. And when the mouse goes to leave the website, as in hit the X at the top of the screen, it will again trigger that pop-up and display it on the user. Now, there's a lot of options that we can do, and we can set what's called conditions. And this allows us to tell the website or tell Elementor where do we want the pop-up to be displayed. And that allows us to set specific pages, or we can just say all pages, all singular pages. And that will then display the pop-up on all pages when someone scrolls down 50% of the display. Now, I know that's a lot to take in. That's very detailed in a short space of time online, but I hope that answers the question earlier from the individual that asked about pop-up settings and actually using pop-ups. The same reason why we use template kits is the same for creating new pop-ups. If you wanted to go to the pop-ups feature in Elementor and go to add new, you do have the ability to create pop-ups from a blank canvas, or you can use templates that, as you will see, will be pre-made for you that you can use. So it's very common in Elementor to use templates for most things, just to help you get up and running and then change the content. If you do have any questions on pop-ups, how to build them, how to edit them, please don't hesitate to ask, and we can go through that during this call.
We have one connection question actually. Let me switch to Turkish channel. So 𝗕𝗂𝗶𝗴𝗶 is asking, pardon Türkçe sormam lazım. Pop-up alanına görsel yükleyip içine özel bir bağlantı gömebilir miyim? Örnek görsel içeriği bizi sosyal medya hesaplarımızdan takip edin şeklinde bir görsel içeriği olan gömülü linki de Facebook sayfa linkine olabileceği gibi. Bir soru daha var, onu da hatta arkasından devam ediyorum. Yine Elif Hanım sordu. Pop-up mobil görüntüleme hususunda dikkat edilmesi gereken bir nokta var mı? Boyut masa üzerinde ayarlanıyor mesela. Mobilde nasıl görünecek? Sistem oranları nasıl ayarlanıyor? Teşekkür ederim.
Perfect. Once again, very good question. So thank you for asking those questions. The first question was, can you add, and please correct me if I've misunderstood, but the first question was, can you add elements like social media links to pop-ups? Yes, you can actually add any element inside of Elementor to pop-ups. If, for example, you wanted someone to watch a YouTube video instead of giving them an offer or to sign up to a form, you can use the same feature. So if we were to go here and, for example, we'll delete the form, we can go on the left-hand side to our modules and we can find something that's suitable. So, for example, you had mentioned social media. So let's search for socials. We see here social icons, and we can drag and drop those social icons into where we would like to position them on the page. So we have our social icons, and again, we can style those icons. So very quickly, we can give them all the kind of white background, change the size, make them much smaller. And then we can add more exciting elements. So we can add video. Oh, oops, sorry. So if we left click and drag in video, we could add a video into our pop-ups, although be careful of video. As you can see, it forces the user to scroll down the pop-up, so it might not be good. But it does allow you to build a completely custom pop-up on your own website. You can add whatever elements that you want. You could add in forms, you can add in video, buttons. It really is the same editor as the page editor for Elementor. So when it comes to pop-ups, it's very easy to make multiple changes throughout those pages. Now, when it comes to mobile, again, a very good question. Well, once again, remember that you have the responsive tool that appears along the bottom, and you can use the same tool to see how it looks on mobile. By default, Elementor will style most things from pop-ups to pages to posts. It will style most things for mobile. But if you're unsure, if you click on the tool tab for responsive mode and you select mobile, when you select anything in Elementor, you will sometimes see this small icon beside settings. And this will include things like alignment. It will include things like style. So if we go to the style tab and we click, as an example, typography, you will notice that we also have a we have a mobile icon here. And this will allow us, and what this is saying is you can change the size of that font specifically for mobile devices. Now, if we click on this icon, we can change it back to desktop, and notice how the website will then go back to desktop mode, and that will allow you then to change it on desktop as well. You can apply the same instructions. If we go back to mobile, to the general settings, and here you will notice you can change the width of the pop-up on mobile, so you can make the pop-up smaller on mobile, and you can also make the pop-up taller. And this allows you to really fine-tune that position of the pop-up, also the same as we did before, the left, the right align, specifically to both desktop and even tablet devices. And this just gives you an extra level of control that you wouldn't normally get. So in Elementor, don't be afraid to use responsive mode and do the same steps. Left click on the tool, look for any icon that highlights mobile, desktop, or tablet, and then you can make settings, change them here specifically for tablet, and then when you go to mobile, it will be either the same size or different depending on what you set before for mobile. So I hope that answers that question around pop-ups and some of the settings that you can use in terms of styling the page. Now remember, Elementor is the same for pop-ups, for pages. Everything works in the same style and in the same way. So if you wanted to apply any of those steps to pages or to other parts of your website, it's the same technology. We go to our page. Let's go to the About page. We can left click on Edit with Elementor, and that will allow us to apply the same changes. So if we look at this About page, we have our text at the top, our image. If we scroll down, we have a big quote, meet the team, frequently asked questions, and so on and so forth. So if we wanted to change how this looks on mobile, we can go to our responsive mode. We can click on our tab along the top for mobile, and we can then begin to adjust font size if we want. We can click on our text, select the style option, and again, we can see that the mobile icon is there, and we can increase the mobile size specifically for, or the font size specifically for mobile devices. And this allows you within Elementor to make changes. Now, if you wanted to hide a section, let's say, for example, I didn't want the quote to display on mobile devices. Well, what I can do is I can left click this with the pencil tool to ensure that I've selected the quote, and I can go to the Advanced tab. And if we scroll down on the Advanced tab, you will see a tab here called Responsive. And when we click on Responsive, you will then have the ability to hide this element on certain devices. So we can say on the live website, hide this on tablet and mobile and only show it on desktop. And then we can save those changes. And if we go to preview and we look at the website on desktop, you will see our quote. Now, if we try to put the website in mobile view, so for those that use Google Chrome, this is not a WordPress test, but for anyone that uses Google Chrome, we can right click anywhere on our website and click Inspect. And there's a button here that we can use to change it to mobile view. And now we can see how it looks in mobile. Please excuse the code at the bottom. It's only the Google Chrome. And if we scroll down, well, yes, actually the quote is gone. I panicked. I seen the quote, and that's for the Meet the Team section. So you'll notice that the quotation, or the actual quote that was originally there, that quote is for the Meet the Team. It's now disappeared. It's hidden. And if we go back to our edit with Elementor, we can see that that section there, the text excellent service, the floors came out beautiful, was hidden on mobile devices. So that just allows you to have extra control and extra features for different devices across both mobile, desktop, and tablet. And Elementor works in the same way for all of these settings. The last thing that I want to show you then with Elementor is the theme builder. This is a new feature that Elementor has added recently, and it's part of the template section here on the left-hand side, where you will see the theme builder. Previously, with Elementor, you could only ever design pages. Now you have the ability in Elementor to actually build your own theme. And when we talk about themes, remember, we're talking about the header, the footer, and even some other examples for the likes of a single news page or even the blog page. So if we go, for instance, to header, we can actually edit the entire header in Elementor if we wanted to do so. So this allows us for the first time in Elementor to actually style the top of our website. So remember from before, the header is both, the header and the footer are global. They're on every page. And so if you want to change the logo, you can select the left-hand corner and you could just delete what was there, and you can add in anything that you want. I can't think of an example why you'd want to do this, but if you just wanted to have a button in the top left-hand corner, you could add in a button, you could add in text. It allows you full control to add in anything at all, instead of just the logo that's there. The same could be said then for the menu. The menu currently works as a pop-up. And again, we can edit this pop-up by changing the menu, by changing the colors, all of which is done within the Elementor theme builder. And this allows you to go and create new menus. Now, if we wanted to completely delete what was there, we can just X, we can delete our menu. And again, we can also use templates that are provided from Elementor to actually change the menu. So if we wanted a menu that had 3 layers, we could select an example here. We can left click on it to preview, and then we can insert that into the page. Now, it might not work in terms of the logo that we have, because our logo is it's a light color. But you can see here an example of how you can quickly change the header of the website. And if we were to go very quickly, I'm just going to go to the Style tab. We'll change the color, something that's more on brand. And very quickly, I'm just going to change some of these items. And lastly, we'll do the font. We can update that. Now, it might not have worked that quickly, but let's see. If we go back to our menu, we go to Exit, and we go to our dashboard. And what we want to do is go and view the site. Let's see. You can see it was too quick. It's always good doing demos when they work. So what we would see after a short period of time, sometimes we might just need to refresh, but you would see that in theory, the menu would change. Sadly, it didn't work in this example, but that's the joys of doing live training. But what that would allow you to do is to change the entire header for the site or the footer or any other page that we see. So hopefully this session today has given you a bit of an insight into how to use Elementor, some of the basics about just getting started with WordPress. I would still encourage you to ask any questions in the chat box below. But just before we close off, I wanted to go into just an explanation of the different types of content, just to recap a couple of points that were raised in the questions, but also some of the points that we went through. So as I mentioned before, in WordPress, there's different types of content provided. And most commonly, you will see there is 4 different types of content. Number 1 is our posts that we discussed previously. And that allows you to use dynamic content, which is suitable for latest news, blogs, announcements, and any other general content that we can categorized or tagged. We also then have pages that we mainly used on this session today, and that's to look at core pages such as key content, the home page, the About Us, the Contact Us. These pages are traditionally set as they are. They don't fall in categories, but they can be structured with various other options as well. And so this gives you an option for different topics. We also then have media, and media is where the media library was. We can use this to store not only images, but we can also use it to store videos and documentation as well as we go through the content. And then finally, for those that are using themes or maybe already have a WordPress website, you also might have custom post types, which can be used for services, case studies, testimonials, or even products and options. You will find those custom post types on the left-hand side of the WordPress dashboard. And that just again gives you a bit more control for how you want to style the site. Another option that you can use is also the customizer and the appearance menu. We did touch on this during earlier parts of our presentation, and this is where you can set and create a menu. You can also use this to customize the appearance of your website and also the number of pages and posts that get displayed on your site. Every theme is different, so it's very important that when you get started with WordPress, you have a little think about the sitemap and the navigation before you start to create menus in the website. Now, if you want to create a menu with lots of pages, you might want to think about how easy that is for the user to access those pages. And as a result, take your time in building the website itself before hitting publish and save. As I've mentioned already, WordPress is filled with plugins and features. Every plugin can allow you to do different things. And Apple used to say that they had an app for that when it came to their community. WordPress is very similar. There's a popular saying is that there's a plugin for that. And so if you're looking a booking system, if you're looking for an e-commerce website, you will find that there's plugins that have been made that allow you to add to your website. And it's the same way as I showed you before with adding Elementor. There is a series of plugins that can be used to add to your website and increase the number of features that you have. And if you do have any questions about plugins, both free and premium, don't hesitate to ask in the chat. The most important thing to note with WordPress plugins is to be cautious or be careful. There's a movie quote for anyone that knows, but with great power comes great responsibility. And we want to ensure that you don't add too many plugins, as this can slow down your website as well. And Malika, I think you had a question there.
Yes, we have a question. This question was raised by one of the attendees. So he's asking, is Elementor the same as GoDaddy?
So there is a difference now between Elementor and GoDaddy. GoDaddy by itself, they do have, GoDaddy is a website host and domain name provider. Now, GoDaddy does have a website builder that they developed themselves. They would be very different, sadly, between Elementor and GoDaddy. GoDaddy, I don't believe, use WordPress for their own builder. Now, GoDaddy do have the ability to set up WordPress websites, but they will use a different builder. They will use one of their own builders. So you might find differences between GoDaddy and Elementor. GoDaddy will traditionally, their own builder could be more restricted. It might not have as much control. It might not allow you to do as much as you've seen here on Elementor. But if you do have any questions or there's anything specific you would like to ask about the differences between GoDaddy and Elementor, please do ask. But thank you for your question. It was a very good question in terms of the differences, because not only have you got GoDaddy, but you have a lot of hosting providers that offer builders as well. Ionis, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that one, but Ionis 1&1 is another hosting provider, and they also have their own builder that can be used to build websites. So again, thank you for your question. The last part to look at for WordPress is the general settings, and that will close us to the session today. And that will just be that once you've got an opportunity to set up WordPress for the first time, you've went to your themes, you've installed your theme of choice, you've installed your plugins. The last step to look at is the general settings on the site, and that's to ensure that you're happy with everything you've got set up. be it the site title. So don't forget to give your site a name and also a tagline. Now that might just be obviously a description of your business. So in my case, if I'm selling flooring, installation and repairs, my tagline might be that we specialize in kitchen flooring, as an example. We also want to make sure that our settings are correct. We want to make sure that our email has been added correctly. So it's all the emails that go through the website will go to me. And we can also then set some of our general settings, like the date format, if, for instance, you wanted to change how the date is presented or the time. We also have the ability to go and change our media settings and our reading settings. So we discussed before, we have the ability here to change how our website is structured. This might be the number of blogs that display on your website. It might be if you want the website to be picked up by search engines. And also you might want to change if your website will show all your blogs on the home page, or if you want to set a static page. So we mentioned before about pages being static. You might want to set the home page as the key page on your site. Now, for those that are having difficulty with the settings, we would recommend to use the template kits, as the template kits will change the settings for you to be the best setup that you can have when you get started with WordPress. But again, for those that are going in and are maybe just wanting to play around with the settings, don't forget to go into the general settings and make sure it's been set for your own needs, for your own WordPress website. One other tip or technique we would often recommend to look out for is for search engine optimization. And one of the things that we want to do when it comes to helping you get found in Google, and in another session, we'll talk about search engine optimization and how you can add it to your website. We want to ensure as well that there's a series of plugins for SEO. And one of the most popular plugins that we would recommend would either be Yoast. And you can see that there's a plugin here called Yoast SEO. And Yoast is able to give you a traffic light system on how good or bad your content is for Google search. And this will help you to write better content in order to get into the top results in Google search. And this will give you a traffic light system to help you do that. So green will tell you that you're doing all the right things. Amber will be there's room for improvement. And red will be that there's issues or problems and you're not going to be ranking as well. Like most things in plugins, there are also multiple tools that you can use. Another tool that we use is a tool called Rank Math. And Rank Math is very similar to Yoast. It just comes with an extra few features. And once again, it will help you to promote your website and put your website live. Now, when the time comes that you're ready to launch your website and you're ready to take what you've done on your local by flywheel and you're ready to move it, there again is a free plugin that you can use called All-in-One Migration. And the last step to adding your website or to moving it to someone like GoDaddy in order to go live is to install a plugin, for example, like All-in-One Migration, which will allow you to click and move your website in an easy, reliable way and move it to a new provider. And from there, your hosting provider will normally help you go live. And just as the timing comes, I see there was another question coming in there possibly.
Merhaba, evet bir soru var. Bu soru iki basamaklı bir soru. Birincisi şu şekilde, site hızlandırma ile ilgili neler yapılabilir? Bununla ilgili hangi plugin'i tavsiye edersiniz? İkinci soruda, siteye yüklenecek fotoğraf boyutu veya türü ne kadar önemlidir? Pek çok kişi WebP formatını önermekte. Siz de aynı öneriyi yapar mısınız? Yoksa JPEG yeterli midir? Teşekkürler.
Perfect. Very good questions. Keep them coming, please. Keep asking questions. It's very good to see. So when it comes to performance of a website, and we kind of got into that point there when we started talking about SEO. When we look at the performance and the speed in which we load a website, we traditionally recommend some tools to help you understand where you are today. Sadly, this is a development site, but one tool we'd recommend to use is a tool called GTmetrix. GTmetrix is a free tool. You can use it on any website and you can use it to try and get an understanding of how fast your website's loading. GTmetrix will also help you understand the issues that you have on your site. And one example of a slow loading website may be the media library or the images that are loaded to the website. And so one thing to consider when working with images on a website is the file size. This can also fall into dimensions, and these two elements are really important. The biggest thing that we'd recommend, first of all, is the file size should never be over 1 MB, MB being megabytes. So we want to make sure that images should never be greater than 1 megabyte. All of our images should be something similar that you can see on screen, maybe anywhere upwards of 100, 200, 300 kilobytes. And that is absolutely fine for load time. When it comes to dimensions, we would recommend that the maximum dimension that you have on your website is 1920 by 1080. So that is the width and height of the image. 1920 by 1080 is standard high definition. So for most TVs, most laptops and screens, that is more than suitable. You will have heard of 4K, Retina, and high different resolution monitors, but most devices will compress images to load better on mobile, on different laptop devices for speed and performance. And so it's important that you kind of use a maximum of 1 megabyte, so no bigger than 1 megabyte for the file size, and in and around, but in that dimensions of 1920 by 1080 for the dimensions. Now, the file type is a good question. When it comes to the file type, we would recommend using WebP because that is the current standard that Google will ask for when it comes to loading in websites. And there is actually plugins that can help you with this. Some plugins are free, but one plugin that you can use and that I would recommend looking into would be a plugin. It might not come up in search. It's called 𝗓𝗓𝗄𝑟𝑡. It might not come up anymore. I think they had a website of their own. So there is some plugins that you will find that will actually convert images for you. And this one actually has a free feature on their own website. You can upload images manually. So you don't actually have to install the plugin. You can just upload images, save them, and re-upload. But what you're able to do is install a plugin to your website that will automatically compress your images, that will resize them and help with the performance. And you'll notice there's very little differences between compression. And that's the idea. It's something we don't want it to get in the way or affect your website on a negative side of things. So compression of images is very good for performance. Another thing that you can use to help with the load time and the speed of your website is caching plugins. Now, be very careful of using caching plugins because what cache is involved is cache will help every time you load a website, your browser will store elements of that website. And from time to time, we use plugins to help the browser store the right elements, be that the images, the colors, the fonts. And so a way we can speed up websites is by setting a plugin to manage this for us. So one free plugin you might want to use or might want to look into is a tool called Auto Optimize. And if you just type in the search, you can either type in caching or you can type in Auto Optimize. It should come up in the library. So there's a series of plugins here from Lightspeed, Total Cache, Super Cache, and many more. And they are free plugins that you can add to your website in order to help with the performance and the speed. You can also use premium plugins. One of the most popular is a tool called WP Rocket, and it will help you speed up your website and get faster load times by using various levels of performance. So I hope that that's answered your question. If you do have any other questions, please, and I see them coming in now, which is great to see, don't hesitate to ask. And 𝗓𝗂𝐴, back to you. Sorry.
Yes. So we have another question. Can we create an email ID from the domain provided by WordPress on my company name?
So when it comes to creating emails and domains, you wouldn't create a domain or an email directly in WordPress itself. You would create that email in the domain provider. So again, someone like GoDaddy or Namecheap, They would allow you to create your emails from there and manage your inbox from that dashboard. WordPress would allow you to set sending emails. So if you were going to create a contact form, as we showed in the training, you could set your own email address to be the receiver of those contact forms. So your domain provider is who you should use for setting up emails or setting up an email inbox. I hope that was the right answer. I hope that was the question. While questions are still coming in, we do have a poll that is running, and there should be a survey running at the bottom of your Zoom. So if you haven't already received that, please do check the poll and let us know of any future webinars that you'd like to see. If there's any questions in certain areas, or if you have any other questions for myself or for Elementor, please don't hesitate to reach out. I really appreciate everyone's time today. I want to thank you for participating in today's session and training. Do keep questions coming. We will stay on until all the questions have been answered, but I will pass back to the innovative team. And if there's any questions between now and then, please don't hesitate to ask, and we'll be happy to help. Thank you very much, everyone, for your attendance and your time.
Evet, herkese çok teşekkür ederiz. Sorularınız varsa lütfen yöneltebilirsiniz. Ben Stephen'a aslında çok teşekkür etmek istiyorum. 2 saat boyunca burada bizlere çok değerli paylaşımlarda bulundu kendileri. Eğer sorularınız varsa bu arada direkt chat box'a da yazabilirsiniz veya elinizi kaldırıp sorabilirsiniz. Şöyle ki bu vesileyle de önümüzdeki gelecek olan diğer eğitimlerimizin, bu workshop'umuzun, atölyelerimizin devamı olacak. Onlardan bahsedeyim. Diğeri 13 Aralık Salı günü olacak yine tekrardan. Onun konusu da SEO Google Maps. Yine Stephen bizimle olacak. Diğeri de 20 Aralık'ta bir sonraki Salı günü de video marketing konulu. Yine onlara da katılım sağlarsanız çok mutlu oluruz. Aynı şekilde online kayıt olmanız gerekmekte. Kayıt olurken eğer seçtiyseniz, belirttiyseniz katılacağım şeklinde bir eyleme geçmenize gerek yok. Biz sizlere yeniden linkleri de ulaştıracağız. Ben herkese vakti için çok teşekkür ediyorum. Stephen, sana da çok teşekkürler bu değerli katılımın ve katkıların için. Galiba başka sorusu olan yok diye görüyorum.
Hi, can I ask you a question? Firstly,
Evet, lütfen siz sorunuzu sorun, buyurun.
am I on the right channel? Let me double check. I'm on the English channel. Perfect. So, Stephen, thank you so much for this wonderful workshop. I think this was awesome and very, very informative. Just looking at my pre-made websites, now I can click in plugins and find out that my website is made of WordPress. And also we have lots of plugins such as Elementor. I can see that, but I can also see that we have 30 active plugins. Is that a lot of plugins to be active? What are your thoughts?
Well, firstly, thank you again for your question. To be stereotypical, yes, 30 would be a lot of plugins. Now, again, if you're able to join us in our upcoming sessions and possibly even our one-to-one face-to-face sessions, I will definitely sit with you and go through GTmetrix and some of the tools. I would recommend, if your site's live, you don't need to worry now because of the wider team or the wider audience today, but do use tools like GTmetrix. Take the website address, go to gtmetrix.com and paste in the website address. We would encourage you to run a speed test on your website. Just because you have 30 plugins, which is a lot, and normally the website could be still very well optimized for speed and performance. I would want you to be targeting possibly a B grade plus. A sometimes is very hard to get depending on the size of the site and the amount of imagery, but try and aim for somewhere in the B grade. If you're an F or a D or even an E, there might be room for improvement that we can help you with or give you some guidance. Do be careful with plugins. If someone has built your website before, it's not a good idea to start turning off. Your whole website might break or fall over. But if you do have 30 plugins and you're still, either you developed your own website or you're speaking to someone like a developer, maybe ask them what plugins are needed and can you remove some of the plugins. 100%, they will be leading to some performance, load time, slow speeds. So it's very possible there could be an issue there, but no, thanks for your question. Yeah, try and get those down if you can.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you. Mary as well, I think you had it.
Evet doğru Stefan. Bir sorumuz daha var. Pluginlerle ilgili bir soru. Çoklu dil içeren web siteleri için plugin tavsiyeniz var mıdır? Teşekkürler.
Thank you very much for your question as well. Once again, there is 101 different plugins that you can use. One of the most popular plugins that we would recommend is a plugin called 𝗕𝗂𝗶𝗴𝗶 language translation. I'm not sure if anyone has heard of this before. It is by far one of the most popular plugins. It's the oldest. They have been around since the beginning of WordPress almost. And the reason that we recommend 𝗕𝗂𝗶𝗴𝗶 is because it allows you to use the plugin by itself. I believe they have a free version of their plugin. So if you're going to write your own translation, for example, to Turkish as an example, you can write that content yourself and it will support Elementor. So it will actually work with some of the visual builders to support translation services. For those, however, that maybe don't have the ability to write translations yourselves, 𝗕𝗂𝗶𝗴𝗶 language is a massive library that actually has full translation services that they charge. I think it's credits. So they charge based on the credits, the number of translations that you need. You'll see here 90,000 credits. However, it will allow you to have real translation active and added to your website without the need or worry, depending on your experience, of using something like Google Translate. So this is something we'd recommend as a tool. There is, again, I would recommend going to the store and you can type in translation plugins and you might find other options, but I can guarantee you will find hundreds, if not thousands of options that are available. Actually, yes, thousands, 1,036 different forms of translation plugins. Just to explain, you will find the most popular plugins will often appear at the top as highlighted by the number of active installs or even the number of reviews. So do check out both the plugin library, but also Google for any questions you have about specific plugins that you'd recommend. But 𝗕𝗂𝗶𝗴𝗶 language would be one of the best that we would use previously for translation plugins. But again, thank you for your question. That was a good one.
Başka sorusu olan var mı arkadaşlar? Yöneltebilirsiniz sorularınızı. Galiba Stefan şu an başka sorusu olan katılımcımız yok diye görüyorum. Ben çok teşekkür ediyorum sizlere. Eğer galiba yavaş yavaş da sonlandırabiliriz bu durumda. Başka sorumuz da yoksa. 2 saatten uzun süredir bize bu değerli bilgileri verdiğin için çok teşekkürler. Önümüzdeki haftalarda da yine salı günü yapılacak olan SEO Google Maps workshop'unda ve 20 Aralık'taki video marketing'de de bu değerli katılımcılarımızla yine bir arada olmak istiyoruz. Dediğim gibi programlara katılmak için yine kayıt olmanız gerekiyor ama bu programa katılırken kayıt formunda evet diğerlerine de katılacağım diye işaretlediyseniz yeterlidir. Biz sizlere ilgili linkleri yine ulaştıracağız. Herkese vakti için ve katılımı için çok teşekkür ederim. Teşekkürler. Bye bye Stefan, görüşürüz. Sen söylemek istediğin bir şey varsa eğer Stefan, ben sana da bırakabilirim sözü. Veya katılımcılarımızdan söz almak isteyen varsa onlar da şu an bizimle birlikte olabilirler. Yoksa yavaş yavaş kapatabiliriz. Okay. Tamamdır. Okay. Teşekkürler herkese. Görüşmek dileğiyle önümüzdeki salı günü. Herkese iyi akşamlar. Bay bay.